Welcome to Thought Frontier.
All right, so get that we're diving deep today.
Oh, yeah.
Deep into the mind of, quote unquote, the smartest man in America.
Okay, lay it on me.
Chris Langan. Heard of him?
Yeah, the bouncer with the crazy high IQ.
That's the one. Supposedly off the charts, like 195 to 210.
Seriously.
That's what they say. And get this, he's developed something called the Cognitive-Theoretic Model of the universe.
The CTMU. I've heard whispers.
The CTMU, basically his attempt at a theory of everything.
A theory of everything, huh? That's pretty ambitious.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Not just explaining physics or consciousness, but how it all fits together. The whole shebang.
So how are we going to wrap our heads around this?
Well, we've got a pretty interesting mix of sources for this deep dive.
Okay, like what?
We've got this interview transcript where Langan himself is just laying it all out there.
Straight from the source, I like it.
Then we've got some CTMU wiki entries, trying to break it down into more digestible chunks.
Helpful, for sure.
And to get a feel for how people are reacting to this whole thing.
Yeah, because it's got to be controversial, right?
Oh, you better believe it. We've got a blog post and some forum comments that are all over the map.
So we're getting the raw data and the interpretations all at once.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that leads to what we're trying to do here today. Our mission for this deep dive.
Hit me with it.
We're going to try to untangle the core concepts of the CTMU. We're going to wade into the controversy.
Because believe me, there's plenty of it.
Oh, yeah. And then we'll step back and consider what it all might mean for how we understand reality. And maybe even ourselves.
It's about more than just understanding the universe out there. It's about understanding our place in it.
Exactly. So where do we even begin with this?
Well, a good place to start is with the foundation of the CTMU.
Okay, so the CTMU starts with this really trippy idea. Reality isn't just what we observe, it's how we think about what we observe.
Whoa. Okay, so our minds are shaping reality.
In a way, yeah, Langan's big on this concept of self-actualization.
Reaching your full potential, right?
Right. But he takes that idea and applies it to the universe itself. Like the universe is trying to understand itself.
Okay, that's a mind bender right there.
It is. He calls this drive telic recursion. Telos, meaning purpose or goal. So it's like this built-in drive for the universe to learn and grow, just like we do as individuals.
So instead of science trying to figure out what reality is, the CTMU says hold on the rules of how we think, how we use logic and math. Those rules are built into reality itself.
You got it. It's like saying the structure of our minds is a reflection of the structure of the universe.
Oh, wait, now my head's really spinning.
I know, right? But to really understand how that works, we need to talk about syntactic operators.
Syntactic operators. All right, hit me with it.
Think of it like this. Imagine you have a box of Legos.
Okay, I'm with you.
Each Lego is a syntactic operator, a fundamental building block. They fit together in specific ways based on their shape, their rules to create all these different structures. The CTMU says reality is built from these tiny Lego-like units.
So just like your Legos can be combined to create a house or a car, these syntactic operators create everything in the universe.
And get this, they're not just passive building blocks. They're constantly interacting, processing information, and changing based on the rules of the system. Langan even compares them to neurons in our brains.
So in a way, the universe is thinking computing all the way down to its smallest parts.
And that brings us to this mind-blowing concept, the universe as a self-processing, self-configuring language, or SCSPL.
It's like reality is a giant thinking computer program, constantly writing and running its own code.
Exactly. So if the universe is like one giant self-aware computer program, then where do we fit in?
Oh, that's the question, isn't it? Are we just lines of code in this SCSPL, or do we have some kind of free will?
I was just thinking about that.
Well, that's where Langan's ideas about individual responsibility and self-actualization come in.
Self-actualization, remember. Reaching your full potential.
Right. Langan argues that the universe's drive towards understanding itself actually depends on individuals like you and me.
Hold on. You're saying that my choices, my actions, actually impact the universe's evolution.
That's what the CTMU suggests. Each individual is like a unique piece of code, contributing to the overall complexity and understanding of the system.
Okay, I'm liking this, but I'm sensing a but coming.
There's always a catch, right?
That's the catch.
Well, Langan believes that centralized power structures, particularly those controlled by certain billionaires and political figures, are actually hindering our ability to reach our full potential.
So he's saying that these power structures are like bugs in the code, messing things up for the rest of us.
Exactly. He argues that they're manipulating systems for their own benefit, which goes against the universe's natural drive towards self-knowledge and decentralization. It's like they're trying to write their own version of the program instead of letting it evolve organically.
Now that you mention it, when we were going through those forum comments, there were a lot of people echoing those same concerns about wealth inequality and the influence of big tech.
It's a real-world reflection of the tensions Langan is highlighting in the CTMU. He's essentially calling for a mass awakening where individuals recognize these controlling forces and break free from them.
So ditch the programmers and rewrite the code ourselves.
It's not quite that simple. Langan acknowledges that while humanity has immense potential, we're also facing some serious challenges. He sees a lot of negativity and division in the world, and he worries that we're becoming increasingly disconnected from both ourselves and the universe as a whole.
It's like we're all playing this massive multiplayer online game, but forgetting that we're part of something much bigger. Getting lost in the competition and forgetting to collaborate.
That's a fantastic analogy, and it highlights the tension that runs through a lot of Langan's work. He's incredibly optimistic about our capacity for growth and understanding, but he's also deeply concerned that we're squandering that potential.
Okay, before we spiral into an existential crisis, I need to back up for a sec. I'm still trying to wrap my head around this whole CTMU. I mean, it's incredibly ambitious, and parts of it sound pretty mind-blowing. But to be honest, some of it sounds a little out there.
You're not alone. Even in the simplified explanations we found, the CTMU is dense and complex. Langan's use of language can be a barrier for a lot of people, which is why it's so fascinating to see how people are reacting to it.
It's like that comment section exploded.
Yeah.
You got people praising Langan as a genius, saying he's cracked the code of reality, and then others are dismissing it as complete gibberish. Who's right?
Well, I think the truth, as always, lies somewhere in between. The CTMU is undoubtedly a product of a brilliant mind, and Langan's attempt to ground reality in logic is groundbreaking. He's asking profound questions about the nature of consciousness and the limits of scientific knowledge.
But is it actually science? Or is it more like philosophy?
That's the debate, isn't it? The CTMU lacks the kind of testable predictions that we typically associate with scientific theories, but it does offer a powerful framework for thinking about reality in a new way.
So maybe not the ultimate answer to everything, but it definitely pushes us to think outside the box.
Exactly. And that's valuable in itself. It forces us to consider different perspectives, challenge our assumptions, and grapple with the big questions about our existence.
You know, it's funny, we started this deep dive wanting to get into Chris Langan and his CTMU,
Right.
but it feels like we've gone on this much bigger journey.
No. I know what you mean.
We're talking Legos and computer programs and billionaires and mass awakenings. It's a lot.
It is. But that's the beauty of exploring a theory like the CTMU. It touches on so many different areas.
Like what?
Well, you've got physics, philosophy, computer science, even spirituality.
It's all connected.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It makes you connect the dots in ways you might never have considered before.
And that's what makes it so engaging, even if some of it goes right over my head.
Sure.
It's not just about the theory itself. It's about the questions it raises.
Which are
like what is consciousness? What does it even mean for the universe to be self-aware?
big questions. And if reality really is this self-simulating language, what role do we play in its evolution?
Right. Are we just lines of code blindly following our programming,
Or are we more like players in a video game?
making choices that affect the story?
Yeah, I think that's a great way to look at it. Langan himself talks about the importance of individual responsibility and self-actualization.
Yeah.
You know, he believes we have the power to shape reality
Through.
through our thoughts, interactions.
Hold on. If we're all just part of this giant computer program,
Right.
doesn't that mean everything is already predetermined?
Yeah.
Like, what's the point of even trying if it's all coded in?
That's where the free will debate gets really tricky. Langan seems to suggest that we do have some free will
Within.
within the constraints of the system. It's like we're given a set of tools and resources.
And it's up to us how we use them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which brings us back to Langan's call for a mass awakening.
Oh, yeah.
He believes we need to become more aware of the forces that are trying to control us.
Which would be.
Well, those billionaires he talks about, for one.
Makes sense.
But also internal forces, fear, ignorance.
Our own personal bugs in the code.
It's like he's saying, hey, we're all in this amazing game together, but some players are trying to cheat. Let's level the playing field.
I like that. So what does this all mean for our listeners?
I think the most important takeaway is don't be afraid to explore ideas that challenge your assumptions.
Even if they sound a little crazy.
Especially then. The CTMU is a perfect example. You might not agree with everything Langan says,
Sure.
but engaging with his ideas can open up whole new ways of thinking about the world.
And your place in it.
Exactly. Keep diving, keep questioning, keep exploring. who knows what you might discover?
Well said. And on that note, we'll leave you with one final thought to ponder. If the universe is truly a self-simulating language, what message are you writing into its code? Until next time, keep diving.